Welcome back to Dirty 20, everybody. Today we're going to go with our second in our series on how to homebrew a city, where we're going to talk about some resources that might come in handy to give you some ideas or inspiration for you to create your own city. Let's get on with the show. Today we're going to look at three books, not in their entirety, but books which are related to running a city adventure or campaign. The first we're going to look at is Vaughnheim, and then we're going to look at two pre-written adventures by Wizards of the Coast. One is Waterdeep Dragon Heist. And the second is Baldurs Gate, Descent into Avernus. All of these books have some amazing tools and things that will just give you a general idea of what you want to do with your city. So hopefully they will be very, very handy. Let's take a look at them. Okay, so we're going to start with Waterdeep Dragon Heist, which came out a few years ago and has some pretty cool stuff in it, you know, with regards to the heist genre. So maybe one day we will take a look at the adventure element of the book. But the part that I wanted us to have a look at today was all the way in page 163, and it's Volo's Waterdeep Enchiridion. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, Volo is a kind of classic character from Forgotten Realms. He has popped up with his own books and things of this nature. By the way, forgive my paint hands. I've been painting some miniatures today, so I've got some paint on my hands. But so Volo is a well-known character. You can actually encounter him in the adventure itself, in the setup for the adventure, which is pretty cool. But what I like about this section of the book is that here they basically give you a history of Waterdeep and gives you a real sense of what the city is like, including things like taxes, the monetary system, and perhaps most interestingly, and like I say, it shows you all the divisions of the wards. Again, this is inspiration for your own homebrew, right? Like, how are you going to divide your city up? Is it going to be in wards like they do in Waterdeep? That's how I did it with Brywick. A lot of history as well, which is nice. Some celebrations. Again, a lot of this is perhaps not necessary, but it gives you an idea of the kinds of things that might come up during your campaign, or things that essentially mean that you can make adventures around. So if it's a celebration in your city and something happens on that celebration. But perhaps the thing that I found most inspiring in this particular book was the Code Legal. Now, this is actually something that will definitely come up in your campaigns. What is it okay to do? What is it not okay to do when people are in the city? A really common one is magic. Is it a crime to commit or to cast spells in the in the city? Now, what's interesting is that, for example, crimes against citizens, right here, you have using magic to influence a citizen without consent, fine or damages up to 1,000 gold pieces, and edict. Now, what's interesting is that, that essentially answers your question. If you're even using a spell like friendship, right, against someone's will, trying to influence them, it's a crime. And so it makes things more interesting for your magic users. If in your city it is completely illegal to cast spells within the city walls, that's going to have consequences for your wizard, for your clerics, for all those kinds of things. But this is definitely the thing that I kind of got most inspiration when I was setting up Brywick. And for the most part, I just borrowed this and I said, okay, this is pretty much the lore in Brywick as well. So you can do that. You can go into these pre-written books and find things that are, you know, genuinely useful beyond just maps and things of that kind of nature. But, you know, whether it's landmarks and traveling around the city, or even like, you know, specific people, right? The nobles, how is the city run, the government, right? The different areas of the city. This is all stuff that I definitely went through when I was first setting up Brywick, and I actually did it just months before this book came out, which of course typical for me, really. But definitely a very handy section inside of Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Now we're going to have a look at Baldurs Gate Descent into Avernus. Now again, this is a pre-written adventure which starts in Baldurs Gate, but very quickly moves away from it. So today we're just going to look at one particular section of the book, which is the Baldurs Gate Gazetteer. So a little bit like in Waterdeep Dragon Heist, you've got this section which is all about the city that is, at least in the beginning of this pre-written adventure. Again, very handy information. You know, things like coats of arms. That was a big thing when I was setting up Brywick, and one of my players decided that he was going to play an ex-city watch guard, and he created a crest for his own kind of ward, and then he started doing it for other wards. It was amazing. And that's, I think, one of the cool things about not over preparing your homebrew city, is giving yourself enough space to develop your own things with your players. Maps are always super helpful. It opens up the world no end. I would start with a city map. Waterdeep Dragon Heist has a beautiful map of Waterdeep, but there's some decent websites, applications out there, and even just getting something really simple. I'll put an image of what I did with Brywick, but just even getting something really simple is great, because it gives you an idea of the geography of the place. I also quite like these reaction tables that they have in here. This is the kind of thing that I would totally nab nowadays, in terms of, you know, what the gate guards are like, and, you know, how they react to you coming along with all your weapons or looking all mean and stuff. Interesting. Then there's also the whole economy, religion, which is really nice. Some nice artwork that you can, you know, show your players. Some cool, you know, NPCs. It's always nice. Gives you an idea of, you know, rather than monsters or big bad guys or what have you, having a kind of thief, a prince of thieves or something like that. Again, beautiful city map, very handy to say, oh well, we are from the sea tower part of the city, or what have you. I think it's definitely worth investing time in that. Perhaps one of my favorite things in the section called the Baldurs Gate Gazetteer is once you get to the secrets. So you get some character backgrounds, which is really nice. I think it would even be cool to create your own character backgrounds for your homebrew city. I think that is a cool idea for your characters. But then, so Dark Secrets. This is definitely probably my favorite part of this particular book. One of the hardest things that I found in running a campaign and playing a campaign is the sense of unity between the party. And this actually comes up with it with a very, very interesting thing, which is you all share a dark secret. And they have some examples in here, like a conspiracy, a murder. You were witnesses to a murder, theft, failed coup. I mean, these things are just great, great little ways of making sure that your players have a reason to be working together, and maybe they don't trust each other. I mean, that's the dark secret part of it, but definitely worth checking out. So there we have it, Baldur's Gate: Descent into Avernus. Okay, so here we have Vaughnheim, which has a little bit of controversy behind it, I'll be perfectly honest with you. The author of the book was kind of revealed to be, doing some stuff that he definitely should not have been doing. But today I just want to talk to you about this as a resource for your city campaigns. Now, what I like about it is that it's a very kind of compact book. It's like A5 sized. The printers known as Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and they're part of the OSR revolution or movement, which is people who kind of go back to the origins of D&D in its kind of, I don't want to say simplicity, but perhaps more complexity and nuance and stuff like that. The artwork in it is actually something that I quite enjoy. It's very different, which is nice. It's all black and white, so it's not like one of those great Wizards of the Coast, full art commissioned, full color print. It's not that, but it's still pretty cool, I think, art wise. And really, it's about the content that is in here. The tools is what I would say is what I appreciate the most from this book. So, for example, there is a really cool thing right here on the back page, right? And it is, if your party are going down a street and they say, okay, well, what's on this street? You can get a bunch of D4s, throw them, or dice, any kind of dice, throw them on this page, and then you can see that, for example, there's a curiosity shop, there's a clockmaker, there's a cheese maker, there's a physician, a scholar, an ostler. Some of these you're going to have to look up. But, essentially populating a street immediately and giving you a sense of, okay, this is like a real place and I don't have to think about things too much. I can just kind of make them up as you go, right? Another thing that I absolutely love in this book is the tables at the back of the book. So, for example, you've got taverns and games. You've got another one that I use quite often is I search the body. And these are just randomized tables. Fortunes. One that I've used a lot is actually city NPC names. That's always super handy. But the books, there's always one player who will investigate a bookshelf, and they say, oh, what books are on there? And so you say, okay, roll some dice for me then, please. And you can randomly choose these. You can also choose within the categories, right? And then just give them one of those things if it's, in a library section or something like that. So, yeah, definitely at the back of the book is where I get most of my use out of this wonderful book. But there is also a whole setting of the city of Vaughnheim, which there is a map for on the dust cover, which is quite nice. It also has some really quite great use of space on the book. So the hardcover on the inside is for tables, for damage, for rolling randomly, all kinds of stuff. And again, also on the inside covers, you've got the streets, which I really appreciate, buildings with some descriptions. You've also got randomizing characters, creatures, locations, and it gives you a whole little formula to do it, right? So you roll the dice on the bits, and then you can get the right thing depending on what you're trying to do, right? So if you're doing a location, right, it's in gold per night, beers for a gold piece, D4 of employees, right? Now the city itself has lots of stuff, history. It's also a city of towers, so hence these kinds of towers with different kind of buildings within them, right? So all pretty cool. There's also a really cool zoo in the Immortal Zoo of Ping Feng, and I've actually used this to some success in my actual homebrew city, where I put a zoo in there, for example, right? But there is an adventure here, and like I say, lots of locations and magical items, all kinds of stuff. Really, really, really great book. The urban crawl is quite interesting. So this is where you essentially start, if you don't have a map of your city with all the streets, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend anyone to do, but you might want to end up doing it just for fun and because you want a really cool poster of your city, like I'm doing. But essentially, you can actually have your players in your city say, okay, we're gonna walk through the streets, and then this becomes almost like a dungeon crawl, right? And it's really simple because you start by drawing numbers, and those are streets, right? And you draw them in such a kind of random way that you end up with, like in a medieval type city, this kind of absolute labyrinth of streets and alleys. So in that sense, this can be really, really useful. So yeah, there we have it. Vaughnheim by Lamentations of the Flame Princess. I recommend it for anyone who wants to run a campaign in a city, whether it's in the city of Vaughnheim or not. This is a very, very useful resource. Thank you so much for watching, guys. As always, give us a like, give us a subscribe, share this with your friends. We're going to continue with this series on homebrewing a city. If there's anything in particular that you'd like us to talk about, then please drop it down in the comments. And as always, keep slaying. If you've enjoyed this content, then please smash that like button, subscribe, share this around online, and come and visit our website, www.lavictoriaproductions.com, to see all our past episodes, as well as our blog posts and all the stuff that we're currently working on at La Victoria Productions. Why not reach out to us and tell us what you think of our videos? You can reach us on Twitter At Mouth La Victoria is our producer. We are also on Instagram. I am Enano LVP, and our producer is Jazzy J Cherot. We're also La Victoria Productions on Facebook and LinkedIn. Come on by and let us know what you think.